Well, ladies and gentlemen, we knew they were going to try something as we get closer and closer to the election. We're seeing poll after poll after poll. They're mostly positive for Trump. Trump is up huge in terms of the betting, and everyone's been wondering, what is the October surprise? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we knew they were going to try something as we march closer to the 2024 election. Donald Trump is up in basically all the polls. He's up in all of the betting. And so the desperation from the left, it's going to get to the point to where we're starting to question and wonder, will they maybe try and manipulate some type of AI deepfake into, pinning it on Trump? There's rumors, there's a campaign ending thing that nobody's touching because maybe people think it's fake. It's all rumors. You can see this quote. This is Donald Trump saying it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury an effing Mexican. He turned to his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and issued an order, quote, don't pay it. And later that day, apparently he was still angry. But if you take a look at what Mark Meadows said, this was like the big thing against Trump, to where it's like, oh, Trump is racist. Mark Meadows says, I was in the discussions featured in the Atlantic's, and by the way, the Atlantic has been horrible. I mean, the Atlantic is a literal caricature at this point in terms of the Trump derangement syndrome. And people are not going to believe this, but yesterday they did release an article saying Donald Trump was Adolf Hitler. And I know we joke about that, like, oh, it's, because that's what they were doing in 2016. They've kind of calmed it down because Trump was in from 2016 and 2020 and nothing that was like crazy fascist happened. So they really can't fearmonger about it. But no, there was an actual story. It was that Donald Trump was Adolf Hitler. That was the title. And that's what they're rolling with. So they've been crazy. And you're starting to see liberals get more and more deranged. I saw a video today of some lady going up to a doorbell of a Trump supporter with a Trump sign in their yard and harassing them. These people know they're going to lose, so they're getting more rabid and just so disgusting. But this website is just completely gone off the rails since looking at the polls. And of course, they're going to tell their supporters, oh, it's a 50-50 race. Let me tell you guys the difference, because I know people are like, well, liberals say that they're going to win or it's 50-50. When you're losing, you say it's 50-50. They're losing. They're losing. I don't say it's 50-50. Other conservative YouTubers that do this, we don't say it's 50. It's not 50-50. They say it's 50-50 as a coping mechanism because they want to pick out certain polls that they like, when in reality, I mean, it's just like, I was talking to somebody last night. The news is telling them Harris is up by a point because the Real Clear Politics says it. Well, no, that's the popular vote. If she wins the popular vote by a point, she's going to lose. So understand the manipulation here. She's losing. She is losing. There is no doubt about it. We just got a new poll. What was it? North Carolina, Trump +3. People have been worried about North Carolina now. I mean, apparently Harris is worried about North Carolina. But you look at stuff like this. Any suggestion, this is what Mark Meadows says, because this was reportedly said to Mark Meadows, like, Trump's this racist. He doesn't respect Mexicans. Mark Meadows says, let me say this, any suggestion that President Trump disparaged Miss Gillian or refused to pay her funeral expenses is absolutely false. He was nothing but kind, gracious, and wanted to make sure that the military and the U.S. government did right by their family. And so that is directly from Mark Meadows, and this seemingly is just a complete lie. You can see blatant lie. Yeah, this is really, really bad here. And this is how desperate they've gotten. Donald Trump has disrespected and insulted Latino men. Remember, it just came out, Latinos. Trump leads them by 11. I think that might have been nationwide. That might have been just a popular vote. And so they're putting this stuff out. Donald Trump has disrespected and insulted Latino men and communities. As president, I will invest into them. A bunch of stuff that she won't do. Democrats are deeply concerned about lackluster early voting, and today it's noon, and I have received no less than 3 push notifications from Apple pushing me to vote early with complete instructions. And yes, Democrats are struggling early, and yes, they're trying to get liberals to go out and vote. They at least want the popular vote. That's why she's in Texas. I mean, there's also, I'm going to go over a Texas poll here soon. You've got this model updating. Trump now up to a 56% chance to win. So now Trump is building on his lead in that model. This is the polling that I was talking about. This is Emerson. You've got Trump up by 7 over Harris, a great number, and you've got Ted Cruz up by 1. People wondering, why would Harris go to Texas? They're like, well, the Senate and also to fundraise. And yeah, this would signal that the Senate race is close against all red, but I don't think there's going to be that much split ticket voting. my guess is you're going to see Trump win by about 7 to 7.5, maybe 6.5 on the low end. I know people are saying maybe higher. It just depends. I mean, this is a good poll from Emerson because you would think Trump would probably outperform this by a point or two. That would be an 8 or a 9 point win. But with Cruz, it'd probably be, if Trump wins by 7 or 8, it's going to be about a 4 point win for Cruz, probably a 5 point win, something like that, just in general. And so, this shows that it's 1 point, and obviously liberals are going to get very excited about this. They're going to say that the Senate race in Texas is up for grabs. They have to say this. This is the exact same thing as them going after a North Carolina or trying to resurrect Florida and say that it's still, flippable for them. The Senate is so far gone. There's like an 85% chance Republicans win it. They have to start making up these races like the fake independent in Nebraska, who's really a liberal. They're trying to get him to win. Same thing with Texas, and now it's looking like the Rust Belt Senate races are potentially going away from them, or at least 1 or 2 of them, which is going to be another seat for Republicans. Now you're talking about 53, 54 seats with Ohio and Montana already very likely gone, especially if Trump wins it by 9 or 10. We've got this article, Trump cancels all his events in favor of one of the worst people ever. And it's like, you look at stories like this, it's like, you can't take them seriously. Like, you're calling Joe Rogan, of all people, one of the worst people ever. I mean, it's just the Trump deranged. I don't even know what to say. Again, it's like, it's not real. It's just like a cartoon caricature of like Trump derangement syndrome. North Carolina Republicans surging in early voting. And you can see at the gain, they've gained 15 points since 2020. And we knew they would gain at least a little bit, but this is a good gain. Looks like they're only down by half a point in terms of the early voting right now in North Carolina. So it's neck and neck with, of course, you've got a lot of people voting undecided or unaffiliated with a party, which are going to decide that state. But still, Republicans, Democrats were able to run up huge numbers, you can see, in early voting, and it's just not happening this year. So there's some things that I would say when it comes to the way these states count. I don't think North Carolina counts in a horrible way, because I don't remember it being anything crazy in 2020. The problem is what you'll get is like a Pennsylvania, is you'll get Trump with a massive lead because they count day of voting right when it comes in, and then they do the early voting after. What I would expect is the day of voting is going to be closer, but when the early voting gets counted, Democrats are not going to be able to run up these crazy numbers. It's just not going to happen. There's way more Republicans voting early. And there's the difference. It's like the election of, we're switching a little bit. We got Republicans doing more early voting, so they're going to bring those numbers up. We got Democrats doing more day of voting. So when votes come in, you have to analyze that and understand this is not 2020. If Democrats start off doing better than they did in 2020 in terms of day of, that was expected. We expected it. Republicans are doing way better in terms of the early voting. So it's important to understand that when it comes to election night, and people freak out and it's like, oh, the day of voting looks bad in Pennsylvania. Trump's only up by 8 points. In 2020, at this time, he was up by 15 points. But no, the early voting is going to be way better. We would expect, although Pennsylvania is a little bit different. The early voting doesn't look amazing right now, but it still is better. And it's going to be better in basically every single state than it was in 2020, just based off campaign rhetoric from Trump about getting people to go out and vote early. I wanted to see this Maine 2nd District, Trump up by 9. That's only one electoral vote. This is a Republican pollster, but yeah, we needed that. We needed to see something like that in Maine 2nd District. So, because Maine 2nd District, there's normally no polls that come out of there. We've got another journalist quote. I have been pitched a story about Donald Trump now for about a week. If true, it would end his campaign. You've got to be kidding me. This is all fake crap. Listen, the only thing that they could get Trump for, because remember, they got nothing in 2020, is something that happened in between 2020 and 2024. They've already drudged up the January 6th stuff. I don't see what they could really get Trump for. Because again, if you're talking about 2020, Donald Trump is the incumbent president. If you have a crazy October surprise on Donald Trump, you're releasing it. They had no October surprise in 2020. We already went through another cycle in 2016. This is Trump's 3rd cycle. They've looked over Trump 100 times. So the only thing I could see coming up is either a deep fake, some type of fake thing, or something that happened in between 2020 and 2024, or something they just make up. So it's what, and remember, they made up that thing about the Mexican and everything like that. So they're starting to make stuff up, and I would be shocked. I mean, if this is a crazy October surprise that would end his campaign, I think people know it's fake. It's total crap. Again, with what we saw in 2020, they had nothing. They would have used this in 2020 unless it happened in between 2020 and 2024, which seems very unrealistic. I think there's going to be They're going to come out with something for sure. Right now, nothing is sticking for them. They did the whole thing about, by the way, this is another Florida poll, Trump +8. I think Trump's proud. I'd like to see this, the sample on this. I wonder if they're oversampling Republicans by 3 or by like 6 or 7 in this Florida poll. But Trump +8, Texas, Trump +7. You'll take those numbers. I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think it'd be Trump around +10 or 11 in Florida, maybe +6.5 to 7 in Texas. I think Texas is right on the money with Emerson there. That's a good poll from them. But in general, they're going after Trump, and this is obvious, and there might be something, and it's important, and Republicans are ready to push back against this because it's very likely going to be fake. And we know that, from 2020, especially if it's something pre-2020 that they try and dig up. We'll know it to be completely fake, at least very likely fake. And again, you have to understand the context of where we're at in this election. They know they're going to lose, so they're doing anything they can at this point. And all the betting says it. All the experts agree. Liberals will say it's 50-50 as a coping mechanism because they know they're going to lose and they don't want to tell people. They want to let people down easy. So it's like, well, it's 50-50. It's anyone's race. Well, no, not really. We've got serious, accurate indicators like a Gallup Party ID that tells us that Trump's going to win this election. That's the bottom line. And listen, it's not 1,000% guarantee that Trump's going to win. Anything can happen in an election, but this is definitely a Donald Trump clear path to victory. When you look at all the polls, when you look at the campaign rhetoric, when you look at the actions on the campaign by both of these candidates, now we've got Trump going on Joe Rogan. That's going to be another 2 or 3 days of clips. That's going to be Donald Trump controlling the media narrative. And that's going to be Donald Trump extending his lead even more. And that's why Harris might have to go on Rogan because of how desperate it's getting. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.